week we had. Wherever we're coming from, we are one community tonight. We really are. Last week we had a special musical group, so we had hundreds of people. But even when we don't have hundreds of people in the room, we can feel the energy of being connected together and being a Kehila Kedosha, a holy community. And those of you who are watching, and have we gone on the live stream yet, Josh? Yes. Okay, great. I couldn't tell on this iPad, but hello to everyone out there on the live stream too, as well as the Zoom and Brookline Interactive Group. So you may be watching on TV, you may be watching on your computer, you may be on the Zoom, but we're really all together. So I just want to invite you to be really present this evening, and to do that, I'd like to invite you to take some deep breaths, which sounds like a pretty simple thing to do, but if you really do it, you'll notice that maybe you haven't done it in a long time. Just settle in and take some deep breaths, complete inhale and exhale. And when you breathe more deeply, you might want to roll your shoulders back, because then that opens up your heart space, both metaphorically and physically. It gives you more room to breathe, more room to receive. The Friday night service is called Kabbalat Shabbat, and that means the receiving of Shabbat. So to receive, we need to have some openness. And so let's just make ourselves open, be present. When we breathe deeply, we can notice how we're feeling, and then we can be really present for each other, for celebrating this beautiful simcha, for the Dykman family, for coming into our beautiful millennia-old tradition of Shabbat, our liturgy, our prayers, our rituals, and our melodies. So we know that we have this particular simcha that I've mentioned. Does anyone else have a simcha? We like to call it a simcha shout-out. Have you celebrated something, have something upcoming to celebrate? It doesn't have to be big life cycle moment, but it could be something else, something even smaller. Would anyone like to shout out a simcha? And you can raise your hand if you're in the room, or let us know on the Zoom, although I can't quite see everybody, but we'll scan. Anyone? Anything good? Other than the Benot Mitzvah, which is huge simcha. Okay, I don't see. All right. So I urge you to connect with a moment of simcha, of joy, as you reflect on the week that we're letting go of tonight, or as you look ahead to the week that is to come. Maybe connect with something that is joyful, that you hope for, or that you've experienced in the past week.
My pleasure to invite Sydney and Alexa up with their family to help us bring in Shabbat by lighting the Shabbat candles. We're going to turn to page 2 in our prayer book. There you go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, Mazal Tov. Thank you. So we're going to welcome the angels. We're going to say Shalom Aleichem, greetings unto you, peace unto you, Malachei Hasharet. the messengers, we call them angels, to help us welcome in the peace of Shabbat. And the words to Shalom Aleichem are on page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seirhem leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We turn together to page 13 in our prayer books, to Psalm 96. And this part of Kabbalat Shabbat helps us warm up our souls, warm up our hearts as we get ready to welcome in Shabbat. Psalm 96 invites us to sing a new song, and whether these words are familiar or the melody is familiar, I invite you to bring your voice into this room to help tonight feel like a new song for those of us in our community by singing along, by yai-da-dying, by humming, and bringing your full self into the space tonight.
Shiru l'Adonai, shir chadash, shiru l'Adonai, kol haaretz, shiru l'Adonai, baruchu shemo, basu miyom leyom yeshuato, sapru v'goyim kevodo, bechol ha'amim biflotav. Gadol Adonai, umehudal meod, norahu, al kol Elohim, ay, ki kol Elohei ha'anim elilim, ha'Adonai shamai asa, od v'hadar. So we're going to turn to Lecha Dodi, which is on pages 20 and 21, and our custom here is to sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And when we get to verse 9, it's customary to rise and face the door and bow to symbolically welcome the presence of Shabbat as envisioned as a bride or a queen. But importantly, we don't do it alone. We're saying, Lecha Dodi, come my beloved, so that together we can bring in Shabbat. So it really speaks to the power of welcoming in Shabbat with others within community. And so it is so important that we are together and we sing together. So again, we'll start on page 20. Lecha Dodi likrat kala שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקרא לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי היא מקור הברכה, מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה, לך דודי לקראת כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקרא בלה. Verse 5. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי אורי, 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 שיר דברי. כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקרא בלה. We rise, in body or spirit we rise. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקרא בלה. We can be seated. We'll take a moment to acknowledge the moments of wonder and awe that can happen for us, just noticing something beautiful in nature, something just amazing, mysterious, or inspiring in our lives. If there's anything you've noticed, perhaps particularly in this past week, as we enter into Shabbat tonight, if you would like to share anything at all, if you're on the Zoom, you can raise your hand or put something into the chat. But if you're in the room, you can simply raise your hand if there's any wow, inspiring moment, and it could be little. That's the idea. The wow moments don't have to be grand at all. Go ahead.
Maybe there's somebody in the room who can explain this better than I did, but I saw that they took a picture of a black hole, the light coming from a black hole, which was, I don't get, and I can't explain to you why that's amazing, but it's really amazing and historic and awe-inspiring.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Definitely don't understand it either. Clearly amazing. You understand, Doris? Oh. The writer couldn't explain it either.
Go look it up. It's actually...
Apparently it won't be very enlightening if you read whatever Doris read. Go ahead, Doris.
My garden in 1 week. I
in 1 week, your garden has blossomed. How wonderful. So beautiful. I love the tulips that are planted along the T here in Brookline. They are just incredible. Yes, sir.
They saw a turtle next to it.
Oh.
A turtle next to what? Oh, what? A turtle? I thought maybe you were talking about the tulips. A turtle next to the black hole?
Whoa. Next to the. Wow. Oh.
That makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
On the swan boats, because I was thinking things wouldn't be going so well for the turtle if he was that close to the black hole.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Wow, thank you.
And Zita was sharing
Yeah.
that her daughter-in-law's parents made it from Ukraine to Slovakia, and so happy that
Oh.
they're safe there.
Thank God. That's great news, Zita. Zita's daughter-in-law's parents have been in Ukraine this whole time, and they just made it to Slovakia. So I encourage you this Shabbat to really notice the wow moments, big and small. The Dykmans and their extended family will have a lot of big wow moments, but maybe also take the time, just as we step back from the regular pace of life on Shabbat, to notice even smaller things. They don't have to be big things like turtles next to black holes. But yeah, keep noticing, keep noticing. We'll transition into the Ma'ariv service, having given ourselves a chance to receive in Kabbalat Shabbat. We'll make that transition with Chatzi Kaddish on page 26. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קורי ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתהלל שמי דקודשה ברכו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה, ואמרו אמן. We rise as we are able for the Baruch Hu, the call to prayer on page 28. Baruch Hu et Adonai hamevorach. Baruch Adonai hamevorach leolam va'ed.
We're welcome to be seated. We turn to page 30 and we give thanks to the divine who brings on the evening and brings about the cycles of nature, darkness rolling into light and light rolling into darkness.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו, לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים.
Page 32, we turn to Ahavat Olam, which speaks of a divine love that is manifest in the world through Torah and mitzvot. And we experience this love in our families and our communities in the way that we pass down our tradition, whether we observe the mitzvot traditionally or not. This is the way that we manifest that love, by passing on the wisdom and our traditions to the next generation and to the generation after that. And we invite that divine love into the room as we sing together on page 32.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו, בשוכבנו וקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה, יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. Page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We turn to page 40 from Michamocha, and we tap into that sense of relief and probably exhaustion and joy that our ancestors felt after fleeing Pharaoh and his armies, making it across the dry sea surrounded by two walls of water to freedom, only to watch their enemies be washed away. That sense of peace that comes when you know that you are free and that you are safe. Michamocha.
You probably all know this melody, even if you're not used to it being put to these words. So you can yai-da-dai if you know the melody but not the words, or you can read along in the transliteration or Hebrew or whatever you like, but you'll recognize it. Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, oh seifele, nora tehilot, oh seifele, malchutecha. Rauvanecha בוקע הים לפני משה ומרים זילי ענו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד יאי די 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 ay די 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 ay די 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 ya די די yai די 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 ay די 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 ay די 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 yai די די די. So that prayer recognizes that moment. Some of the words come right from Torah, that moment of that crossing and that relief. But we know that even when we feel relief and we feel safe, there are moments throughout our lives that come where we feel more vulnerable. And night for our ancestors was one of those times because I think in some ways we can all be afraid of the dark, even nowadays when we have plenty of ways to light the dark. And we could be on our phones or our computer screens or have our lights on throughout the night. But in the days that this liturgy was composed, darkness was really scary. And there wasn't really an option other than darkness at night. And so we recognize that we ask that we lie down in peace and that we merit to wake up again to a new day. So we'll sing these first two lines on page 42, and then the indented lines that come further down on the page for this blessing. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ushmar tzedenu uvoenu lechaim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. And the last three lines of this blessing. Baruch atah Adonai haporeh sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim.
We turn to the Amidah on page 46, and our custom at Ohabei Shalom is that we join together to recite the opening blessings together, and then we take a few moments for our own private prayer this evening. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and to join Rabbi Berkman as she leads us, and then to use the silent time to continue with the words in the prayer book or the words in your heart. And you're welcome to be seated when you complete your own private prayers, and we'll join together again for Osei Shalom.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו אלוהי אברהם אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב אלוהי שרה אלוהי רבקה אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו ביהבה מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. Page 50. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע מוריד הטל מכלכל חיים בחסד מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. Page 52. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו Amen. Bottom of page 62. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו Amen. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו So on Shabbat, we are traditionally not to pray for four things that we want and need. We're supposed to really acknowledge what we do have, but peace and healing are things for which we can always pray. We know that even if we ourselves are feeling relatively healed and whole or at peace, that this world still needs our prayers, that there are always people and places in the world that are broken, that are suffering, that are in pain and they need our energy to help them move toward healing and wholeness. So we're going to do that. We're going to have the chance for a healing prayer, but first a prayer to call to mind and heart Ukraine and the horrors that the people of Ukraine are experiencing. And this is a prayer for Ukraine by Joanne Fink, and it's shared here on the screen as well. Holy One, source of strength, war has begun and innocent people are dying. We ask your protection for Ukraine and its citizens. We pray for their safety and the security of the country and for the neighboring countries, Hungary, Poland, and Romania, among others, that have opened their borders to provide humanitarian corridors and safe passage for all those who wish to evacuate. We seek the comfort of believing that everything will be all right, even in the face of insurmountable odds. Quiet the fears that threaten to deafen us. Grant us shlemut, the inner peace, the wholeness we so desperately seek. Help us remain calm and reach out to those in need. May this horrific situation be diffused swiftly with minimal casualties. We pray for those who've been hurt. Bless our world leaders with the ability to work together for the greater good and the wisdom to make wise decisions during this turbulent time. Bless the people of all nations with the desire, strength, and courage to create a world based on justice and filled with peace. May the words of Isaiah, nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore, become true in our day, in this very hour. Source of goodness, shine your healing light on us and all those in Ukraine we hold in our hearts. Shelter us, shield us, show us the path to peace. Venomar, and let us say, Amen.
Amen.
We'll pray now for all those we know who are in need of healing of body or of spirit, refuat ha-nefesh or refuat ha-guf. So we'll look on the Zoom chat, but we'll also ask those in the room, if you have a name or names to share, to raise your hand. Karen. May they know healing. Anyone else? Yes. May Annie know healing. Spence. May you know healing. Ken Waller, Liesel, Allen, Susan, Jerry, Karen Weber, Jay, Shitra Dwarka, Sophie Santillan, Judy Trojan, Steve Fromm, Bernie Gray. From our community, or connected to our community, Elliot Schickler, Eliezer Ben Hannah, Alice Elisa Batsara, Beryl Yisrael Ben Galia Rachel Velabel Yankel, Marsha Landman, Richard Scheideroff, Louis Goldman, Kenneth Greenberg, Chaim Mesh, Dina Rachel Bat Arya Vegalia, Chaya Blima Bat Chaim Chia Vasilia Rachel, Jeffrey Colt, Yosef Ben Herschel Verut, Glenna Bubb, and as we've mentioned, Naomi Fisher and Karen Weber, as well as Esther Neshama and Linda Hoffman, Leah Bat Kayla. Misha Berach is on page 253. We'll sing from the middle of the page. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBeracha Laimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Rabbi Schaefer will share some special words with us tonight, anticipating that all too shortly he will be leaving his position here at Temple Ohabei Shalom. We will miss him greatly. We will have the chance to celebrate him on June 3rd. Please do come in person if you can, come online if that works better for you, but we hope you'll join us then. And I hand it over to Rabbi Schaefer.
Thank you, Rabbi Berkman. Shabbat Shalom. A special welcome to our guests from Wisconsin. I apologize in advance for my topic this evening. As I mentioned in my Shabbat message this morning, I'm doing a lot of reflecting about my time at Ohabei Shalom, as my tenure here is coming to an end in less than a month, and I wanted to share some insights with you tonight. It helps me to think in metaphors and analogies, and so tonight I want to tell you how everything I learned about being a rabbi, I learned from the Boston Celtics. That's why I'm apologizing if you didn't know. First, I should add that I didn't learn Hebrew or how to study Torah or lead prayers from watching a basketball team. Such a statement would have been ridiculous. Those are things that hopefully all Jews will have a chance to learn in their lifetime, but going to rabbinical school for 6 years was also pretty helpful with that. Being the rabbi of a synagogue is about so much more than those foundational pieces of knowledge, and I want to share 4 things that I've taken from my time here through the lens of being a Celtics fan. The first thing is that history matters deeply, but it's not what unites us. There is no more historic team in the NBA than the Boston Celtics. They've won 17 championships. They dominated professional basketball in the 60s and 70s, and they were pretty good in the 1980s too. When you attend a basketball game at TD Garden, you see those 17 banners hanging in the rafters and a plethora of retired numbers. There are more Celtics in the Hall of Fame than any other team, 36 players, 6 coaches, 6 contributors, and 2 announcers. And Temple Ohabei Shalom is arguably the most historic synagogue in Massachusetts, not only because we are celebrating 180 years this year as the first and longest continuing running synagogue in the Commonwealth. We are also the first major synagogue to have a female senior rabbi, Rabbi Emily Lipoff. We helped settle Soviet emigres in the 70s and 80s, and built the first class preschool right upstairs. There are so many moments to celebrate in these 180 years. But like those 17 championships, these are wonderful accomplishments to look back on and to celebrate. The Celtics do a great job of honoring their former players and coaches in history, but what really unites them in the moment is their goal of winning their next championship. And now there are many objectives that a synagogue could legitimately argue are most important. But at TOS, I've really seen three that stand out to me that unite us as a community, from our lay leaders to our staff to our board to everybody who is involved. First is the idea of connection, whether we are here to connect with God or to connect with each other through music or study. That idea of connection feels first and foremost. The second is the idea of tikkun olam, or repairing the world. And it's been my pleasure to be here working with our social action committee for the last 4 years. And third, and I would argue the most important, is the idea that we are passing on a vibrant, enriching Judaism to the next generation. Our goal through the preschool, through our religious school, through all of our programs is to help you guys fall in love with Judaism so that you want to continue to celebrate it as you get older, you live independent lives as adults, and hopefully want to pass down that love and that tradition to the next generation. The second thing that I learned about being a rabbi from the Boston Celtics is that we all mourn in our own way. 5 years ago, the star of the Boston Celtics was the diminutive point guard, Isaiah Thomas. And in 2017, the night before the playoffs were going to begin, he lost his younger sister, China, in a tragic car accident. It would have been understandable for Thomas to skip games or to take even the whole playoffs off. But eventually he decided that quitting was not an option and that he would keep going for his sister. A day after his sister's funeral, he scored 33 points, and 2 weeks after she died, on what would have been her 23rd birthday, he scored 53 points in an overtime victory over the Washington Wizards. It was one of the most stirring performances I've ever seen in my life. And as I reflected on it, I thought, if he had come to me and his rabbi and said, "Rabbi, what do I do?" I'd say, stay home. You just lost this important person in your life. You need to mourn. You need to be with your people. It's not a time to go to work and do your job. But we all mourn in our own ways, and we have the right to make the choices that do serve us best, as long as we don't hurt others. I'm so grateful for those of you who have allowed me to sit by your side while you have mourned. I hope I listened and counseled in ways that were helpful and supported you to make your own best choices. The third thing that I learned about being a rabbi from the Boston Celtics is that for a team to succeed, everyone has to be willing to put their ego aside some of the time. There are so many amazing people here at TOS. There are so many amazing, talented people on an NBA franchise, and not everybody can be a star all the time. I have very faint memories of Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish from the 1980s. Most of what I remember is when they were past their prime and not so good. So the first really good team that I got to experience in Boston was when the Celtics traded for Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett to join Paul Pierce to form a new Big Three. They were three all-stars at the peak of their powers, who were used to having the ball in their hands and each being the man on their team. But I think quietly amongst each other, they all agreed, or they at least knew, that Kevin Garnett was the best of all of them. He was the only one who had been named the most valuable player in the league, and he came in and he set an example of sacrifice. It was all about the team and their collective success, and not about his individual stats or accomplishments. The owner of the Celtics, Wick Grossbach, said that everything changed the minute KG walked into the first practice. And Garnett's then teammate and current basketball analyst, Kendrick Perkins, said, "He just set the tone, the sacrifice and the things of that nature." I always tell people that KG was the one that established the whole sacrifice. He took a backseat to everybody, especially to Paul and Ray. He set the identity, and he set the culture. I actually think that Kevin Garnett would make an amazing rabbi. He'd have to cut back on his cursing, and of course he'd have to convert, but who knows, anything is possible. One of my teachers in rabbinical school said that this is actually the model of Jewish leadership, to be a shepherd in the lineage of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Aaron, and David, to guide a flock by leading from behind rather than by being in front. If you run out in front of a flock of sheep and hope the sheep follow, you're going to lose a lot of sheep that way. Rather, you need to allow the sheep to lead, watching over them from behind, gently guiding when they go astray, and occasionally, like Moses in the Midrash, when he discovered the burning bush, carrying them back when they lose their way. The fourth and final lesson I'll share tonight is that daily practice can lead to total transformation. One of my favorite roles as a rabbi at TOS has been educating our students for their B'nai Mitzvah. And one of the things that I tell every student when we begin to study their Torah portion is that it is better to practice 10 minutes a day, every day, than to try and cram it all into 1 hour each week. Meeting with students every week was a great way to get to know them and build relationships, but it was also a great way for me to practice my Torah reading, because when I started here in 2018, I was mediocre at chanting Torah, but I got so much better over the years because I got to practice with our students week in and week out. And as the Celtics get ready to play the Milwaukee Bucks in a winner-go-home Game 6, I hope the Dykeman family, everybody has a happy night, and you guys are all in love with each other tomorrow morning, no matter the result. I think the star tonight is going to be Grant Williams, who famously started out his NBA career missing 25 three-pointers in a row. It was bad. He shot only 25% that year. And the next year he got a little bit better and shot a few more times per game. But this year he transformed into a star role player, knocking down 41%, an incredible rate on even more attempts, becoming one of the best three-point shooters in the league, all while playing amazing defense. He got better by not considering himself a finished product and by willing to practice every day. I hope I've gotten a little bit better at being a rabbi during my time at TOS. You can tell me. A little bit, I hope. And I appreciate you indulging me in these insights tonight. Of course, I didn't really learn these things from watching the Boston Celtics. There's only so much you can learn by reading a book or by watching something on TV. We learn by doing, we learn by building relationships with people. And really, it is you who have taught me these things and allowed me to learn and grow. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity. And if you want to hear my list of the 10 more things I could tell you about how I learned to be a rabbi from watching the Boston Celtics, I'm happy to share those with you after services. Thank you for indulging me tonight, and Shabbat Shalom. Yeah. Right.
Wow, it's as if we planned the Dykeman Benot mitzvah with the Wisconsin connection. I mean, it's uncanny, right? That this is all happening now with this rivalry. So may the best team win.
Amen.
Amazing. So how many of you live in Wisconsin currently? Okay. And how many of you are Bucks? Is that the team?
Yeah.
I don't know a lot.
Good job.
Thank you. Bucks fans. Okay. Amazing. Okay. Well, luckily, you have a lot to celebrate no matter what this weekend, so that works out great. We're going to move toward the end of our service with Aleinu on page 282 and then 287. Please rise as you are able. Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינת עוזו בגופי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד. ואנחנו
קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים
הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 287. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. We can be seated. And at this point in our service, we take a moment to remember those we have loved who are no longer with us in this world. So if it is that time for you of observing a yard site, or if you are in a period of mourning for a close loved one and would like to share with us the names of those you're remembering, you're welcome to at this time. If you're on Zoom, you can share in the chat. If you don't have access to a Zoom or Facebook chat, but you're at home watching us, I do encourage you, if you are reciting Kaddish for someone in particular, to take a moment to say the name of the person that you are remembering aloud, even if it's just to yourself. I think there's a lot of power in bringing that into the space. And we are with you. We are here as a community as you recite Kaddish tonight, wherever you are. So I see on the Zoom some names of those being remembered: Irving Backman and Arnold Remler. Is there anyone here? Karen. May their memories be a blessing. Esther. May your memory be a blessing. Anyone else? May the names of all those we've mentioned and those we hold in our hearts, I'll add Zita's father, Sam, her grandmother, Devorah, and her aunt, Ruth. May all those we hold in our hearts and that we've mentioned and haven't mentioned, may their memories be for a blessing. If it is your custom to rise, please rise at this time. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah be'alma tivra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei b'chaye echon u'v'yom echon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'v'zman kariv ve'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabbah mevorach le'alam u'lalmei almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen.
We're welcome to be seated. This special thank you to Josh for helping things run smoothly behind the scenes, and to Andy and Rabbi Berkman for helping lead us so beautifully tonight, to Sydney and Alexa and your family for leading us in candlelighting and for about to leading us in Kiddush and Motzi. We're so grateful that you can be here tonight with your family. Tomorrow morning, services begin at 10:15. Note that slightly earlier time. So if you can join us on Zoom, make sure that you're logging on at 10:15 or in person. Rabbi Berkman's class is on Thursday at 9 a.m., Torah for the Heart and Mind. And next week we have a special guest speaker joining us.
Two guest speakers, actually.
Speakers.
Yeah, this will be a speaker. We'll have an abbreviated service that will end by 6:40, and then about 20 minutes of a talk by Matt Klein and Sophia Panek, who are guest speakers. Excuse me. Speaking about, Sophia comes from Ukraine, and they'll be speaking about the war and ways we can support the Ukrainian people. They've been doing a lot of work. Sophia emigrated from Ukraine in 1997, and her family has been supporting frontline troops in eastern Ukraine for the past 8 years, and they're going to share ways that we can take action and help the Ukrainian people. Lots of simchas next Saturday morning. I'll let you, because I'm going to take a drink.
Liam, we're going to celebrate Liam Christ's bar mitzvah at 10:30 in the sanctuary. And a special mazel tov to Mike Middleman, who many of us in the community know is the founder and designer of Bowls for Food, and he won the Social Impact Award at Boston's Design Week 2022, given to the outstanding individual, product development, innovation, or business in any design field that has contributed a design solution to any urgent issue facing our world.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I'll say more tomorrow to embarrass Sydney and Alexa, but it feels very special to be here at a Friday night service with you girls and your family, because you came before COVID. You were among our most regular Shabbat service goers. You would be here, and from the time I started 5 years ago, you were always such a delight to see here, and to see you all grown up, or at least part of the way, or certainly all grown up according to Jewish tradition, and to be here on Friday night to get ready to celebrate with your family and extended family is just amazing. I have so many memories of you girls here at other Friday night services, and really looking forward to your simcha tomorrow, as I know all of us are. So we're going to invite you up, Dykeman family, Ben and Sydney and Alexa, Danielle and Dave, if you can come up as we lead Kiddush and Motzi on page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho b'yahava u'v'ratzon inchilanu זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת, אותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen. You can take a sip if you like.
All right, Alexa, come on, wait. You know, our preschoolers, this is like the biggest honor. they're heartbroken when they can't do it, and they all really want. But by the time you're 13, I guess, less exciting.
All right, you guys can take the cover off. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Thank you, Mazal Tov. Looking forward to seeing you in the morning. And we'll close our service with another kind of prayer for peace, Olam Chesed, based on a psalm. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, we will build a world from peace. It's on the screen, but if you can't see it, it's okay. There's a lot of yadidais in this song, and you'll catch on. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, da-da-dai, dai-dai, da-da-dai-dai. 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 I will build this world from love. Da-da-dai, dai-dai, da-da-dai-dai. And you must build this world from love. Da-da-dai, dai-dai, da-da-dai-dai. And if we build this world from love, da-da-dai, dai-dai, da-da-dai-dai, then God will build this world from love. Da-da-dai, dai-dai, da-da-dai-dai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh, 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 da-da-dai, dai-dai, da-da-dai-dai. Shabbat Shalom, Mazal Tov,
Shabbat
Sydney and
Shalom.
Alexa.